Welcome everybody to the first Friday entrepreneurship call with K-State Research and Extension. I was reminded this morning about why we do this call actually, and there is a philosophy in entrepreneurship called the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And Victor Wang, formerly the vice president of the Kauffman Foundation, described the entrepreneurial ecosystem this way. Humans are biological animals, so our society is a biological system. Biological systems like natural rainforests thrive because of the unplanned, uncontrolled results of countless interactions among flora and fauna. As a result, they adapt, they evolve. It's similar for human beings. Our society, our networks are a type of ecosystem too. They are rainforests, but made with people. Our world depends on the interaction of people who possess talent, capital, and ideas. This means everyone. So the reason we have these calls is to bring together you people with talent, capital, and ideas, and to help the local community know about the resources at the state and national level, and to try to bring them together. And so today, to that purpose, we have one of the most entrepreneurial guys I know, Steve Radley, who is the CEO of Network Kansas, and he's going to give us an update on the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative and the Kansas Community Investment Fund. So Steve, take it away. And oh, and by the way, if you have questions, put them in the chat, and I will monitor the questions and help Steve to go through them at an appropriate break. So put your comments in the chat, please. Thanks. Okay, Steve.
Okay, well, thank you, Nancy. And I don't know if everyone could hear Ron and I talking, but if you don't know this, I am a University of Oklahoma graduate. And so I guess I might as well start and congratulate K-State for their victory last week. And hopefully we'll see you in the championship game. So yeah, so thank you, Nancy, for allowing me to come and share today. We're going to talk about two programs, and my assumption at this point is that the people on this call mostly know about these programs, and so we're going to kind of give an update about each of them. The first one is the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative, and the second one is the Kansas Community Investment Fund. Before I get into the program history, I do want to mention one organization which I believe has been one of the most influential organizations since I've been in this job, which is, I'm in my 16th year now, across the state, and that is the Kansas Health Foundation, which both of these programs wouldn't exist without the Kansas Health Foundation's leadership. And I think the thing about the Kansas Health Foundation, it's one thing to have assets, and then it's another thing to invest them in a way that empowers and builds capacity at the local level. And, you know, we wouldn't have if you've been through a Kansas Leadership Center training, that's the Kansas Health Foundation. If you have a strong community foundation in your community, it's likely because of the Kansas Health Foundation. They believe and work to build assets at the local level. And I think that's really important. I also want to send condolences because last month they lost their CEO, Reggie Robinson, who was just a great guy and had very strong leadership. And I know the staff of the Kansas Health Foundation is hurting right now. And I also want to send condolences to Reggie's family. So with that, here's what we're going to cover today on each of these programs. We're going to cover a little bit of the history, who the partners are that are working on this project, projects funded, and then some significant program changes that if you are working with certain types of businesses in the community, I think that you have to look at these programs as opportunities for those businesses. So the first program I want to talk about is the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative, which was launched in 2017. The Kansas Health Foundation provided an organization, a Certified Development Financial Institution called IFF, $1 million for grants and $2 million for loans. They also provided a pretty significant grant to the Kansas State University to manage the program. We were not initially involved. We kind of came on later because they wanted somebody who has a statewide footprint that could help generate deal flow. Now, the primary purpose for the Healthy Food Initiative is to increase access to healthy foods in low resource and underserved areas. And it's a two-step process, and you'll see the website here in a minute to go on. But the first one is to determine eligibility, and the second is to then, once you are eligible, that resource you can apply to the program for a loan and or grant. And I'll get into details about that here in a minute. Since we actually launched 3 years ago this month. We've done 21 projects across the state, grants of over $500,000, and loans of 1.6 million. Actually, these are approved. Not all of those have been funded yet. We've also leveraged $13.3 million. Here are the partners that are involved. K-State Research and Extension, IFF, which we're really excited as we continue to work with them, and the Food Trust, which is the evaluator of the program. So here's where the projects that have been funded so far or been approved for funding have happened. As you can see, it's been all over the state. I got to tell you, K-State just does a fantastic job of, and just is a great partner in providing the data and communicating to potential customers as well. So here's what we've learned since when we began the program. And this is, with every new program, you have to leave some ambiguity in the system. And I was showing Nancy a quote that I have that says, "If you want to be understood at all times, don't do anything new," a quote from Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. And I think that applies here. And part of the process that basically you could apply, the purpose of this is to build a sustainable program. And so a sustainable program means that you loan money out and you can loan it out again and loan it out again once you get paid back, and with some grants also included. And so that was part of the issue. It wasn't really defined up front. And so we've been working on that. The other thing that has happened over time is that we've determined that we really look hard at technical assistance early for projects. And we've actually now, and this is, you can't do this stuff on every business project, but you can when the Health Foundation is included because they provided money for this. We actually are, if we determine that a grocery store or another project needs some technical assistance, we've been paying for technical assistance through the grants. And so there have been consultants in Eastern Kansas, Western Kansas that have been helping grocers with their projects. And so one of the things that we want to do is we want to do that earlier. Another thing that evolved over time was that we found that Network Kansas were equipped to do smaller loans pretty quickly. And in fact, because of our entrepreneurship community network and our partner network, many times projects were already underway and moving pretty rapidly when they got to us. And the other thing is, in many cases on smaller loans, it wasn't cost efficient for IFF to do the loan. And so we actually became the administrator of that loan. The other thing is IFF is equipped for really large, complex projects. And And these are, I would get primarily projects $250,000 to 600,000 or 700,000, and they're very good at it. And so we wanted to kind of work with all of the organizations and their strengths, and so that's how we've changed the program. So on the Healthy Food Initiative, here are the changes that we've made. And so if you're working with a grocery store now, you really need to consider the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative, because we've tweaked the program now where basically every loan has a grant mix in it. So if it's a $50,000 project and you get approved for funding, 15% of that is going to be a grant. And so basically, if you get approved for a loan with the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative, a grant is coming with it. And I'll show you a little bit more detail on that later. The other part, and by the way, October is the month that starts the next 3 years of this program. And so we kind of soft launched this with early clients about 3 months ago, and this is the full launch of this program. Any loan that's $75,000 or under, Network Kansas is going to be the administrator. Any loan over $75,000, IFF will be the administrator of that loan. We also still are offering grant-only projects, and those grants, one is what we call a small grant loan program. It's up to $15,000. And the second is a large grant program, but and this is up to $50,000, but it has to be a big project, and it can't be more than 2% of the project. And you might ask where we kind of came up with this. Well, that's kind of how it evolved over time. And there's only one project that got over a $50,000 grant in the first 3 years. So that would be the one project that wouldn't get as much as they would now. But we've also provided pretty sizable grants to big projects in other parts of the state. So here's the updated processes and parameters. And so if you've got a project and this can be gap funding, you know, if there's a bank involved, and you know, much like the e-community program where we provide gap or Startup Kansas, or even our multiplier, but this program is better for grocery stores and other organizations, because it's an 85% loan. You know, so if you're doing if you need $75,000 in funding, you're going to get 15% of that funding in a grant. So you can see the loan grant funding matrix up top, and then the grant only examples are in the bottom. And like I said, we have a small grant, and we've done these. We just approved one last week. And I think they were, it wasn't a grocery store, it was another type of business that provides access to healthy foods, and they received a $15,000 grant. And so those are still available. But as I said, the purpose of this, we wanted to structure this to where we incent for the loans program as well, because that's how you build a sustainable program. So I think that's my last, yeah. And Nancy, are there any questions that have come through the chat or anything before I move on to KCIF?
No questions yet.
Okay, well, let me move on to the Kansas Community Investment Fund, which is another program that was funded by the Kansas Health Foundation. It was launched in January of 2019, and it's an investment of $500,000 a year from the Health Foundation and $500,000 a year from Network Kansas. Additional partners that are included are Locus Impact Investing and the Aspen Institute, which have helped create the Kansas Community Philanthropy Innovators Network. I might also add that the Kansas Association of Community Foundations is also very involved and has helped us work with community foundations and connect the rest of the team with community foundations. The initial definition of this program was to provide loans to for-profit businesses to increase health equity and community vibrancy. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more here in a minute. But the early deals primarily were going to come, because the for-profit, they were mostly for-profit businesses, came from Network Kansas deal flow. And so basically, when Network Kansas funded a deal, we would be looking at that each deal to see if it met the criteria for the Kansas Health Foundation. And many times those deals were basically bought out into this portfolio. And so half of the funds were from Network Kansas and half were from the Health Foundation. Since we launched in January of 2019, we've approved 17, maybe 18 projects. I may have the numbers wrong. It's either 17 or 18 projects, because I just remembered I added one in there. Loans are almost $1 million so far. I think we have about a pipeline of deals we're looking at that are 300,000 or 400,000. And we've also provided grants in our last 2 deals, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more about that here in a minute. So here's where projects have been funded in the Kansas Community Investment Fund, mostly in the central and eastern side. Hopefully we'll get farther west as we move along, and hopefully this presentation will help that happen. Here's the types of projects that have been approved for funding. And so I think that's important to know. And you might notice on the first 2, for-profit and nonprofit fitness centers, for-profit and nonprofit daycare centers. And that was a change that we made about 6 months ago. We now have a direct application available for nonprofits that fit the criteria for the Kansas Community Investment Fund. Dental offices, mental health facilities. We funded a co-working space up in a town of 300 up in Jewell County. And we are an unannounced one. We're getting ready to fund a rural broadband provider as well, which you'll hear probably about in the next 2 weeks, and a pharmacy. So those are the types of deals that we are looking for. But I will tell you that that is starting to expand a little. So if you have a project, if you're either a nonprofit or for-profit project, contact us and let us work it through the system to see if it might be eligible. We had one recently that we weren't sure, and so we ran it up the flagpole at the Health Foundation, and now we're taking our next steps with it. So as with the other program, we felt the Kansas Community Investment Fund is also, what we learned is that it's a little ambiguous. Health equity and community vibrancy, those are pretty generic terms. And I think when I presented probably about a year ago, I said we were going to start wide and start to narrow as we learn. And that's kind of what we're doing here. The other thing is that we felt like we need more avenues for partners to access the program. Nonprofits are engaged in this work, and just because they are a nonprofit, they should be, we felt like they should be able to access capital. And so we have funded a fitness center in Clearwater, Kansas. We have funded a daycare facility in Abilene, Kansas. And so we are very open to nonprofits going forward. The other thing that we've learned is that the KCIF provides kind of a doorway for community foundations to engage in this type of work, to consider using either some of their corpus money that they're sending to New York in local projects, and the KCIF model is starting to emerge as a model that could be used. And that model can be used primarily because of all of the partners that are on this call, because we have those entrepreneurship community partners across the state and our partner network. And so we have a unique opportunity in Kansas that doesn't exist everywhere, mainly because of you as partners. So here's some of the changes that we have made. We have tightened the product definition, and so the Kansas Health Foundation has 4 impact areas they're looking at: access to care, education attainment, and education attainment would be like daycare, healthy behaviors, civic and community engagement. And that's probably the one that's still a little ambiguous, but like the co-working space in Cortland was an example of that, that we had to look at first. So one of the things that we've done is we've changed the process to make it more accessible, but a 2-step process. So we can really look at that eligibility piece first. We don't want people going through an application and say, well, that really doesn't fit. We want to say it fits first and then work on the financial part and that application. The other part of it, for the biggest difference in that piece between the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative and the Kansas Community Investment Fund, is we are still only working through our partners. An entrepreneur or a business cannot apply directly to us. They have to apply through a partner. And we have a lot of those partners around the state. We have 45 that are financial administrators for us. And so they can apply on behalf of, we want them working with whoever that business is or that nonprofit is. The other piece is we are now starting to work with community foundations directly. We have just signed a management agreement with the Hutchinson Community Foundation, where we are helping them vet deals where they are investing their money. Now it's still their money. They're not giving us the money. In the particular scenario we're working on right now, that money will be loaned out to a business in their community. And then when it comes back, we send it back to them. And so this is not, we're not asking for grant money from them. We are simply helping them manage the process of doing that. And we're finding that that there's a way to do that that's pretty, thanks to our partners once again across the state. So in Hutch, the Reno County E-Community will be involved. And other partners will be involved as well. So we're very excited about that. So just some details about the Kansas Community Investment Fund. And if you're an e-community, you should look at this, because if you have a project that that has this potential, or a partner who does Startup Kansas loans, you really look at this. So today is actually the official soft launch of the direct applications for both for-profit businesses and nonprofit businesses. Now, as I said, those applications have to come through a partner. So if you're a partner working a deal, an e-community deal, a Startup Kansas deal, a Kansas Capital Multiplier deal, look at this program. So the match is exactly like e-community and Startup Kansas, where we can be 150% of the match, with one sizable difference. With Startup Kansas and e-community loans, the cap is $45,000. With this program, the cap is $250,000. And the one we're close to announcing is a $250,000 loan. There are also a limited amount of grant funds available for direct applications. And so the last 2 applications we've done, we have an impact score, and in the addendum, you can see what we're looking at for an impact score. On a direct application, every time it's a yes, there's a 1% grant associated with the loan. So I'll give you an example. So one of the deals we funded was $30,000 deal. 9 of the 10 were a yes on the impact score. So of that 30,000, 9% of it came as a grant. And so now we have, like I said, we have a limit. Right now we have about 70,000 in grant funds available that would go with loans that we're doing. And so that will go up in January by another 50,000. Anyway, so on a direct application, there's a good chance you're gonna, because chances are if you can't answer those impact scores, if you're not answering at least 5 to 6 or 7 of them as a yes, it's probably not necessarily an eligible business. So you probably won't get that far. But if you get far enough to send in an application, there's a good chance that you'll get some grant money included, and that loan amount will go down. So we're excited about it, and we think it can really help our current partners who are already doing loans. It can allow our e-communities to stretch their dollars farther that they get allocated through their regional pools. We think it has some significant advantages for our partner network and the businesses and nonprofits themselves. I want to add one other thing I'm really excited about. So because of our relationship with IFF, we are actually looking now at, we asked them, what do you specialize in? What else do you do? And so we've had our first call with them, and IFF, 95% of their business, and they do about 100 million a year, is nonprofit loans. And so with real estate involved generally. And so we are working on developing a stronger relationship with them to where we can send them deal flow across the state. And so you'll be hearing more about that at a later date. And I think that's it. Here is who from Network Kansas on the Community Investment Fund. Me, Thomas, and Imogene are the primary people working that program. And so any of the 3 of us can likely answer your questions. And as I said, that in the addendum, there's the impact piece. And then here's our risk summaries we do for the KCIF as well. And so with, I should have had them both down in the same area, but I'm gonna skip back up here real quick. For the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative, go to this website and that will get you started. So Nancy, I'm done.
That's excellent. Boy, that's exciting. And you're right, it's a lot to take in, but we've got some creative people here. So you just answered one question that people had, is how do we get started? And I pointed us to the kansashealthyfood.org site. And then let's see.
Nancy, on the Kansas Community Investment Fund,
yes.
Because it's through our partners, it's not on a website. So if you're a partner of ours and are interested in the Kansas Community Investment Fund, contact Thomas and he can send you the direct application.
Fantastic. Good. And then let's see. Jeff Usher pointed out that the community foundation funds don't come out of their grant making funds, but their investment portfolio, which is a good distinction. What else? I think those are the, Imogene was helping us in the chat too. Questions, anybody? We've had a large attendance on today, and I'm really excited that so many people heard this. I think it shows the.
They're really, one comment I'll make is they're very unique programs, thanks to the Health Foundation, but they are also helping us with some ideas with our other programs. One of the things that we've learned and we've always tried to figure out is how to provide some more technical assistance. And so we're actually working on ways where we can identify partners and or consultants that in specific areas. Two areas in particular, daycare. We want to identify experts in daycare, because the amount of deals we're funding in daycare, through the e-communities and through these programs are huge. Another is fitness centers. And of course, fitness centers, we funded 3 in 1 month. And of course, with COVID-19, there's all sorts of, just made their life a lot harder. And so one of the things that we're learning through these 2 programs is how we can potentially help other businesses as well. But thanks to the Health Foundation, we are, we're so much farther along. And these 2 programs, basically especially in the Healthy Food Initiative, if you're getting a loan, you're going to get a grant too, for sure. And it just makes it, helps those businesses with their cash flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other questions? Of our rural grocery K-State employees here on the call today. They're going to be even more closely aligned with K-State Research and Extension from this point forward. And so welcome them to the hall. So this is the time that we usually use for, if there's no other questions, Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jeff Usher had to leave, but I certainly echo your comments about the work of the Healthy Kansas Health Foundation. They've really done amazing things. So this is our sharing time, and if anybody has anything that they want to share from their neck of the woods, what are you doing that we all can learn from and emulate, steal?
Nancy, this is Stacy from Ellsworth County Economic Development.
Great, Stacy. Go ahead.
I don't know if I have anything we can learn from, but I'd like to invite you all to a couple of programs. We love to partner with our Midway District KSRE office, and we've got a couple of really exciting opportunities, and they're both all virtual. So there's no reason why it needs to be exclusive to Ellsworth County. And in fact, we think it would be enriched by hearing from others across the state. You hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the first thing I want to share with you is our Nonprofit Leadership 101 course. We have partnered with KSRE and the Kansas Nonprofit Center, and bringing in a speaker. Her name is Rosie Higgs. She's from the Nonprofit Association of the Midlands. It's been our experience here in Ellsworth County, and I'm sure we're not alone here, that many of our nonprofits are struggling right now, and in lots of different ways, with fundraising, with board recruitment, with what do we do now, with engagement. So this is a series that we're offering to really kind of learn some things for our nonprofit sector. The dates for this is October 19th through 23rd, but it's only 12 to 1 every day. So if you take lunch hour and you can scoot away from Monday through Friday, October 19th through 23rd, it's all by Zoom, and we're pretty excited about that. So Nancy, will you share these after the call, the flyers? Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if you'll remember the website address to register. So if you're interested in that, Nancy will send those out.
Fantastic. That's how it's done. Thank you, Stacy.
I've got one other thing, if I may. Back in June, Ellsworth County had a discussion about, we entitled it Courageous Conversations, and it was under the Leadership Ellsworth County umbrella, but we tackled the topic of systemic racism here in Ellsworth County. We had a community conversation online. It was very well attended. We had about 40 on the call, structured, facilitated. I was very happy with the results, and we polled our attendance after that call and asked them, would you like to participate in another event? And if so, what topic would you like to dive into? We had 100% response rate of yes, we'd like to continue. And also, there was some various topics of interest, but 100% also said, we'd like to stay here. We'd like to dive into this topic. So since June, I've been trying to find the correct resource partners to help me with this, and I finally found them. And so we've partnered with KSRE, with the 4-H Youth Development, with the Staley School of Leadership Studies, and with ICDD. And we are hosting, we're calling it Courageous Conversations Continued, excuse me. It is a 6-month series, once a month. And our first opportunity is Sunday, October 11th at 2 p.m. And the title of that specific topic is The Art of Empathy. Pre-registration is required, but once again, it's all online. And I really think that this is a topic, I've talked to some of my colleagues across the state, and I hear that this is a topic that is of interest, but people don't really know how to do it. I don't either, but I found some resource partners that do. So I'd love to invite you all to attend that as well.
Fantastic, great stuff. Stacy, there's no limit to 2. You've got unlimited ideas.
That's all I got for today. Thank you, though.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here and sharing. Who else has something to share? Okay. Well, if there's nothing else to share, I know you're busy and you'll go back to doing lots of good things. Hopefully some of them will frighten you a little bit. I am quoting from Seth Godin as my takeaway thought for today, something to leave you thinking about. Oh, let me say that our next speaker in November is Janelle Dobbins, who is going to tell us how From the Land of Kansas can help your small business. And that's, I think, something that all of us can be inspired by. How the program From the Land of Kansas can help your small business. And Janelle, thank you for that. So our thought for the day to leave you with today is, if this was a blog post about running, I'd definitely be teaching things that would make you tired. And if you want to learn anything about making a difference, being creative or leading, you should ask the person teaching to cover things that will make you afraid. Because just as you have to figure out where to put the tired when you run a marathon, you'll need to figure out where to put the fear when you do work that really matters. So thank you all for the work that you're doing, and thank you, Steve, for scaring us just a little bit, but giving us ideas and resources and people to go to. And look, people, at the screen and realize we're all in this together, and we can do anything when we do it together. So thanks for joining us. Have a great Kansas day.